Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the next podcast that's brought to you by PM Powered, a consulting company that can help you with your project, program, and portfolio needs. I'm Wanda Curlee, your authority on everything that is project, program, and portfolio management related. So today we're going to discuss about several topics, but my first article is on self-driving cars navigate unmapped country roads with new MIT system. We've been talking about self-driving boats and self-driving cars, but it relies on GPS and technology for navigating known roads. This actually allows a car to go onto a dirt road or something that's not mapped by Google Maps. It needs just a rudimentary GPS so it knows where it's at, but then it maps it does 3D mapping of the road in front of it, so it's able to navigate. So I would predict that within 10 years, we're going to have cars that can go anywhere on the earth, whether it be terrain that is not mapped at all by Google Maps, or it's into rural areas where people live way off the road and there's no mapping for that as well. So think about that. You have possibilities for self-driving vehicles to go into rural areas and pick up people. For example, if an ambulance needs to go someplace and you just have an area where the person's at, or it's a remote area, the ambulance will now be able to go there because it's mapped. Okay, let's go to this next one. Will Europe's looming tech rules prove to be a template for the world? Well, GDPR is coming, and that's on May 25th, and that's when all of the new rules that Europe has put into place will affect probably every country in the world. So if you have servers or anything in there, it will be affected. So how will this affect apps that we now get free? Think about Facebook, LinkedIn, apps on your phone. Right now we get those all for free, but we have a lot of marketing that goes on with it. And with that comes malware and viruses. With GDPR, it is thought that now apps will have to take a different view of how they make their money. And I suspect that we'll be seeing that Facebook, LinkedIn, and other apps will start charging. It might be minimal at first, but then we'll be in there'll be different levels that you'll be able to do. So you might have premium customers, you might have standard, but everybody will have to pay for. And they may even have a free one, but that it'll have just rudimentary things that you can do with it. So stay tuned. I suspect that within the next year or two, we'll be seeing that Facebook and LinkedIn will be charging for the privilege to use their app. So let's talk about what's going on in Africa and how technology is helping them. There's this article called Leapfrogging Tech is Changing Millions of Lives. Here's how. Well, what's happening is, in Africa with many developing countries, it was thought with energy they would have to build an energy grid just like we have in the United States or like we have in Europe. But that's not what's happening in developing countries in Africa. What's happening is that they're doing solar panels on homes so that they can have energy. And this energy and the way they're paying for these solar panels is through a monthly fee until they own it. And it's a fee that they can afford to do. And so now families that couldn't afford, or where they couldn't afford to put energy grids, families now have energy because of solar panels. Connectivity. Smartphones are getting so cheap now that connectivity is available for developing countries. And it says that there's a 10% increase in cell phone ownership. And this allows them to do banking, which in a secure environment, which wasn't possible before. They would have to walk miles to get to a bank, or maybe even days to get to a bank. So right now they can do secure banking on the telephone. Education. As we know, education is power. but there's a lack of trained educators in developing countries. So there's a set of private schools that it's called Bridge International Academies that is taking, they are putting onto tablets lesson plans so that teachers can go out and teach, and they can actually just talk to these lessons plans. They can read the lesson plans, and that will allow them to teach. And they're not certified teachers. Anybody can take these tablets and start teaching children to learn, read and write, and to be innovative and creative in their countries. So if we can teach children to read and write, we now have an educated force that can go out and read even more complex things, so they can bring more innovation and creativity to their countries. Agriculture. There was agriculture is done by farmers that are done by their families. So families are doing agriculture in small plots. But there was the need to have money, and now with the cell phones we can do the banking, but also through the cell phones and through apps, these farmers can talk to other farmers that have issues, and they can resolve their problems on the fly via apps. And this was not done previously. Healthcare. We have drones in healthcare. They have blood delivering drones to robot pharmacists. Tech is giving healthcare a boost in some of the places that it's needed. So think about all this blood that can be delivered and analyzed without people going out into the countries. There's a hospital in Johannesburg that uses robotic pharmacy system, and this allows the pharmacy to deliver medications, and it has been decreasing the number of errors. So African communities are bringing big things through technology, and they're not having it to do it the way that Western countries have done it. They are leapfrogging and missing many of the things that we are doing, and but missing things that are not necessary. So they are leapfrogging in technology, and that's a wonderful thing. So let's turn a little bit to project portfolio management. I wanted to bring this to your attention. This is called Project Portfolio Management Saves CIO Big Bucks. This is a lesson on how project portfolio management can help your organization. And I'm very keen on project portfolio management. It's something that I have a passion for. But this municipal CIO has reduced his $10 million budget by 6.8%. That's a lot for a municipality, just by using project and portfolio management applications to align his department with strategic goals and objectives. So I wanted to read a little bit of what he said. We were overburdened with projects. If we had on another major project, a PPM tool implemented in-house, that would have taken even more resources, and we would have been burdened with software licensing and additional equipment. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. So Roseville is one of those cities that has its own operations. We have an electrical department, planning, police, fire, transportation, Freeman said. We have 16 different operating organizations. It's somewhat difficult because it's almost like running 16 different businesses. We were having a little bit of trouble with a silo effect. One of our goals was to break down those silos and try to align technology projects with the goals and objectives of the big city. And the way they did this is that they had they got visibility into 180 projects with his 40-person IT organization. That's a lot of projects for 40 people. And they were delivering to a municipality of 110,000 people. So this included both new projects and ongoing maintenance projects. He extracted information on those projects from spreadsheets and mapped them into the city's council's goals on a dashboard within his PPM application. So they went through a project portfolio scenario. They aligned all of them and reprioritized some of their projects. So they realized that they were doing projects that didn't meet that met the needs, but they weren't as important as some other projects. So they reprioritized those to bring value to their portfolio. And by doing this, he was able to understand which projects were bringing more value to the organization. They didn't cancel none of the projects were canceled. They just reprioritized them. So some that were 100% prioritized initially, but found that they weren't as valuable to the portfolio, that people were put onto different projects. And this is how project portfolio works and brings value by decreasing cost and risk and bringing value to the organization. So I was glad to see that there was actually a showcase there to show how project portfolio management can save you money. Continuing on that vein, there's a project called Project Zendo. Its founder is Rick I can't pronounce his name, Butkovic. He's a PMP and CSM, and he provides a resource for discovering a simpler and more effective approach to project management. What he has done is create a website called Project Zendo. If you go out there, you can discuss what you need about your project and find different ways of doing it and solutions that are easier and more productive. He has said that our projects have gotten so complex that we forget why we're doing project management, and we make it even more complex by adding overhead that is not necessary. So go out and see what his Project Zendo has to offer you. So South Florida Water Management District completes restoration of Southern Crew. I found this very interesting because they were able to take more than 10 miles of road have been removed, soil piles and berms have been flattened, and ditches and canals have been plugged. The South Florida Water Management District has finished a 2-year, $3 million project to help restore the natural flow of water to more than 1,000 acres in southern Lee County near the Audubon Corkscrew Swamp Sanctuary. I thought this was fantastic that they were able to bring it in within the scope, within the budget, and within the time. It is 60,000 acres in both Lee and Collier counties. So housing developments, dirt farm roads, and farm ditches had drained much of the wetlands and blocked the flow of water. So they were able to bring back the natural area. And while I know that families had to be repopulated to other areas, it's nice to see that we're bringing back the natural environment in some places. And it's good to see that it was done with a good project. So without ado, this podcast has been brought to you by PM Powered, a consulting company to bring you project, program, and portfolio management. Please go to pmcurrent.com and follow me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I'd love to hear from you if you are working on any of these projects or have worked on any of these projects. I'd love to bring you onto the podcast so we can have a discussion. Remember, I'm here to bring you events that's going on in project management. If there's anything that I haven't covered, please let me know. I'm Wanda. You can contact me at wanda@pmpowered.com. Again, if I haven't discussed something that you would love to hear about, please let me know. Send me an email or contact me. Again, have a great day, and I'll see you next Monday.